I am Warren, and I'd like to read something to you that I posted on the Academy for Future Sciences website yesterday. And it's also on my Facebook page, Feeling Complete. I believe that I have cracked an enigma code. It's a group effort to uncover the less obvious and to expose things through multidisciplinary endeavors, not multiplicity, but from multiple avenues of science. Cooperating together, we can get a much more holistic view of our thinking selves and the nature of existence. The Big Bang just became outdated. I had a tremendous realization a few months ago, and now I suddenly realized that I have debunked the theory of everything. The cosmos could not have formed haphazardly out of the Big Bang. Excuse the dudding from my parrot. It came to me after contemplating Professor J.J. Vertex revealed truth expressed in the Book of Knowledge, The Keys of Enoch, he wrote in 1973. He writes that the universe is open-ended and started in a steady state as the spontaneous appearance of the spiral superuniverse. Firstly, the Big Bang theory is simply an hypothesis. Our most sophisticated instruments have not pinpointed any such explosion. The 13.8 billion year point of impact, where existence purportedly exploded onto the scene, has not yet been observed. We still can't see the beginning. Secondly, the Hubble telescope, on the other hand, has revealed a reddening hue across the heavens. It used the telltale Doppler effect as definitive evidence of the acceleration inherent in the cosmos. So, if the Big Bang is to be considered as the mother of all explosions, then how come things are accelerating away from each other rather than slowing down? As would be expected, stars are not simply drifting past. You see, all explosions peter out from the moment of impact, whereas our universe is doing precisely the opposite. How can we reconcile a bang of any nature with the fact that, on the whole, stars are accelerating away from each other, or perhaps moving apart on a more exponential curve? It stands to reason that the cosmos is not withering out and becoming colder in a meaningless unraveling of elements. Rather, it is exquisitely ordered, even orchestrated, involving the synergy of the fractal-holographic universe of microcosm, macrocosm, microcosm interplay via spheres within spheres and down through 24 dimensions of being. This is because even as the universe expands, all the same natural laws remain unchanged and meaning holds fast. This reflects a design of higher spheres, or heavenly worlds, cascading inwards into the lower physical heavens, of which we are a part. That is, those 24 dimensions are perfectly orchestrated interconnectedness to support the eternal stage for our evolving lives, physical as well as spiritual developments. A synergy of synchronicity and supersimilarity, harmonic resonances, and higher geometries are interwoven within the fabric of the cosmos and our consciousness. It sounds very much like the consciousness of the heavens infuses the realms of matter, that beyond breaks through at any point of activation on the grid of space-time, or at gravitational locations where vortices form, like in stars in our activated hearts, while it surrounds us, and the great unbroken unified field, spoken about in theoretical physics. It appears that this whole scenario takes place omnidimensionally, while being omnipresent at all times. It almost seems as though the energy of existence, so this expansion, is becoming increasingly more intense because of its accelerating expansion. It is common, I got a little bit flustered. It almost seems as though the energy of existence is becoming increasingly more intense because of this accelerating expansion. Is the cosmos then merely releasing more of its latent energy as it converts potential energy into kinetic energy in the eternal sea of inextinguishable energy? Or is it that we are being infused with more living life from the beyond? I often wonder how it is that E is equal to mc delta squared. Energy is equal to matter times the speed of light, which is a massive number, to the power of itself, squared. But delta squared, because delta is changing, and who knows what interdimensional interplay there is to say that it's that huge number squared. It could be even more, or it could be varying. I often wonder, how is it that E is actually equal to mc delta squared? Or how is it possible that such enormous amounts of latent energy is packed within such tiny spaces and can be released from minuscule pieces of matter? A vastly potent potential lies within every speck of existence, from atoms to infinitesimally smaller subatomic elements into the quantum world. I think it is because the great beyond is shining through and supporting all the latent energy of existence within local automatic balances and within consciousness time zones, a phrase coined by Professor Hertzog, the president and founder of the Academy of Future Science. Three things here. One, Newton's natural law of conservation of energy. Two, quantum tunneling. And three, quantum entanglement. One, Newton's law states that energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It can only change form. It also refers that a perpetual motion machine cannot ever exist. It couldn't, I suppose, if it's or a closed-ended universe. Some would beg to differ about this creating of energy, and it's really just transforming around every cell, around every human body, around our solar system, our galaxy, is a torus field around our planets. We look at the Van Allen belt, those sort of things. So, Adam Tomley says that the universe is a torus-making machine. Perhaps it infuses life from beyond, who knows. Two, if we are to accept the idea that the first singularity, capital S, formed due to quantum tunneling, which is the accepted theory, and collapsing wave functions, which are integral, they collapse upon each other and create time or room there's existence. We must also realize that all energy came into being at once. So, it seems something created all the energy of the universe at the first moment of existence, when the cosmos first formed. Waveform collapse may very well be a result of extra cosmic forces, superluminal light. If existence hadn't yet formed, however, then waves did not exist either. Moreover, there was no space through which to travel, remembering that time did not exist either for things to move through. Then we've got 3. We know that most probably everything is interconnected or entangled in the quantum world. This comes through the 3-way photon experiment conducted at Waterloo University, Canada in March of 2015 regarding 3 quantum entangled photons being sent to the moon and back to 3 different places at the Waterloo campus. They were not a second out of phase as would have been expected, as light takes half a second to reach the moon from the Earth. They were absolutely perfectly in phase when they returned, suggesting something superluminal, something faster than light, and it moves faster, or what appears to be instantaneous because everything is in perfect phase. So something is unaffected by a space or time. It's got nothing to do with it. We're all part of the whole, which Professor Herter calls the hierarchy rather than the hierarchy. Hierarchy is stepping level to level, and you can get stuck in that dynamic. Because there are spheres within spheres, there are wheels within wheels in the Bible. So, we in the image and similitude of being, we can be in the likeness of the whole of the universal structure and soul of the universe, which is obviously for consciousness to come about, not just matter. And our galaxy does not only produce stars, it produces consciousness, and here we are. We're all part of a whole, which Professor Herter calls the hierarchy. Fractal holographic universe. It's all one thing. It's like one equation giving a beautiful fractal pattern, and each part reflects the whole. And no matter what magnification, it's still exactly the same picture with different hues and of color and shades of color. We are part of the whole, which Professor Herter calls the hierarchy. It seems to me that absolutely everything is perfectly in phase relative to one another. As we think of Einstein, so the theory of relativity, as if all periodic elements somehow know of each other on a rudimentary quantum level, future and past. The ineffable or eternally infusing light of all lights, superluminal light, has a constant presence because it's mind behind being, the mind behind being, capital B, capital M. And we know this through the shapes that they come through eternity and how perfectly things are designed in the whole book. An introduction to life, angel essence, and stardust explains it very, extensively. So it seems to me that absolutely everything is perfectly in phase relative to one another, as if all periodic elements somehow know of each other on a rudimentary quantum level, future and past. The ineffable or eternally using the light of all lights, giving the light, has a constant presence in others. It is ever behind the initial super-energetic light, or the first singularity of creation. Super-energetic light is a term in nuclear physics. It's physics, theoretical physics. Considering quantum entanglement, A, continue further, we can juxtapose it as B, not being able to separate quarks, without them immediately reforming again in the very same place. It takes so much energy to separate them that it's almost impossible, but when one eventually overcomes the forces in between the pair of quarks, and quarks cannot appear in singlets. They can only appear in pairs of 2 or 3. And there has been experimentation for I don't know how long, and they cannot find one single quark. So a quark pair, you try to split them apart and they reform. That's the nature of existence. It's ephemeral, no? You can't touch it. You cannot touch them because it's interconnected with something else. It's kind of superluminal light. What other terms do we have? You say higher, deeper. It's difficult to talk about these things. Inside is out at some Zen level. Considering quantum entanglement further, A, we can juxtapose it with B, not being able to separate quarks without them immediately reforming again in the same place. These quarks are actually at the basic quantum elements making up every proton, neutron, and electron. Both these realizations serve as testaments to the beyond, containing or cloistering the open-ended cosmos, but contained within a whole, rather than splintered. It also points to there being superluminal light present prior to the formation of the first pre-matter energy functions, called super-energetic light. This is a term used in theoretical physics. Nothing else could have existed at the first moment of creation, as it was packed so tight. Space-time did not yet exist, neither did light, as we know it, or the first periodic elements, starting with protium, which is hydrogen without a neutron, just simply electrons and protons, an electron and proton, the basis of all atoms. This all goes down very nicely indeed with what I feel is the discovery of Kolob, which is the mystical central sun in Judaism, and other cosmically gigantic objects spewing out massive intensities of light, billions of oceans of water, and lightning the length of galaxies. I have a link here that I'll put in the post underneath. Such massive, dense objects should really be black holes if we are to follow expected laws of physics. Black holes swallow everything around them or in their path, capturing all forms of light too. Something else occurs to me. Yeah. Could this whole explanation be the long-awaited new theory bringing natural physics and quantum physics together? That superluminal light surrounds the great unbroken unified field spoken about in quantum physics. It was not my own realization, because it's gathered through other people's perspectives on what they have said. I'm just trying to explain all of this. So, in some respects it's absolutely unique, but in other respects it's a conglomeration of other people's brilliance. So here is a footnote, a sideline for some perhaps. But in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Notice the plural. We are born not like a perversion in some biblical versions of the Bible, where it says the heaven and the earth, implying that there's three layers of existence. One we're in, the one above, and then they talk about hell. We're not in a three-tiered system. It's multi-dimensional, and we shouldn't be thinking that way. It's exclusionary, and there's a black and white box-like reality that doesn't take in consideration our rainbows and interdimensional realities. So, as an aside, or a sideline for some perhaps, but in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. Notice the plural. We are born to evolve through strata layers or heavens, even the ones we look up to each and every evening. This means we are evolving or progressing through layers of existence. but also through consciousness time zones. A phrase coined by Professor Hertog, who wrote The Keys of Enoch and is the president and founder of the Academy for Future Science. Each of these consciousness time zones carries a particular range of perceptions and panoply of experiences. We evolve by design, not by physiologically and spiritually. Consciousness is a great experience of many senses. We have a sense of intellect, we have a sense of emotions, we have a sense of the skin around our body, we have an internal sense of being well enough. We have our five senses, and we have those of insight and foresight and insight linked to the 16th chakra, and each level of existence within the overself body, or the soul body, and the Christed overself body, which we all possess, which is part of the oneness of heart expressed in the Sun universe. We are able to take on a greater persona as we evolve as human beings and develop new senses. So we are progressing through different experiences and perceptions. Our perceptions are evolving as humanity, especially now that we're crossing the line of the galaxy, the Milky Way, and it's every 26,000 years almost. That as we're going around the sun, the whole solar system is bobbing up and down as Polaris and the central spray of stars across the Milky Way come to a conglomerate line of influence. So we are experiencing the effulgence of many more stars and are aligning with the consciousness of the galaxy center. So it is the prophesied time where these great changes are happening, lost epochs before 26,000 years. And we know that the Sphinx comes from much earlier in this epoch. And we're entering a time some people call Armageddon, which is not really Armageddon so much as the end, devastation. It's dramatic what's happening, and depending on our attitudes and treatment of ourselves and the planet and each other, the vibration of the Earth might shift more slowly, but there are drastic changes happening on the planet. That midline influences the precession of the Earth, which is also almost 26,000 years. And we've completed a cycle, and it's like going up a spiral. There are different layers of perception. One can be in life and its interactions, or one can spiral up and be on the bridge, looking down on oneself and one's interactions. And then there's a level of being at once with everything. So there are many senses that we're waking up to at this particular time. The whole point here, though, is that we evolve by design, not by stepping on each other's faces to prove who's fittest and who survives. Alluding to the fact that the fittest survive mentality is also outdated, because that's what makes us step on each other's faces. And if we're looking at the fittest surviving, why aren't the fiercest dinosaurs still around? We evolve by design, not by stepping on each other's faces to prove who's fittest or who survives. Through grace, we were loved into creation. So we have the potential to love being alive and aligned and balanced. Thank you for listening.